The views and opinions expressed in this podcast do not necessarily reflect those of Into the Pit or the Vibes Broadcast Network. This show is intended for mature audiences. Please welcome your host, Coyote Knight.
Well, hello, everybody. It's another Tuesday, another great episode of Into the Pit. I'm your host, Kyle Yates, and my co-host, Mr. Chris Hopkins.
Hey, how's everybody doing this week?
And we have special guest, Ben Hansen. Want y'all to know that he's taken time out of his busy schedule to be with us. We won't be able to do the full hour with him, but we'll try to keep him on as long as we possibly can. Thanks for joining us, Ben.
You're welcome. Good evening to y'all.
So, y'all still working on Ghosts of Morgan City?
Well, I mean, we're working on developing stories and stuff if we get picked up again. But yeah, we finished filming that in, I think it was May. So it was 8 episodes, and the network has to wait and see what all the numbers look like compared to the other shows and all that stuff. And then hopefully we get notice that we've been renewed. We're just still waiting on all that.
I hear you. So what was it like going from Fact or Faked to Ghosts of Morgan City?
Well, there's a couple things that were, quite different about it. One of them was, when we're filming Fact or Faked, you're out, like either going domestically or internationally, and you're gone for about a week max, right? And then you come back home, and then you go to the next one. And this one was the first time I've actually lived in the place, that we were investigating for a long time. So there were stretches where I was gone for like 3 weeks, and then we'd come home for a little bit and then go back out. So it was really cool because you got to know people. In this case, the premise of the show is that we're working with law enforcement and the mayor's office. And so we actually developed some really cool friendships and bonds with people that you don't get to do, like on a show like Fact or Faked. So that was really cool. And also, this is all about the paranormal. I mean, we're not investigating UFOs or Bigfoot or anything. And you get into an area like Louisiana that's just like so rich in history, doing stuff I've always wanted to, like spending more than just a couple nights.
Mm-hmm.
We're there for weeks, and you start to get to know the local legends and really spend some time in these haunted locations.
So what is it like for the law enforcement there? Do you think they get any kind of ridicule for doing this, or is everybody in the town kind of like excited about it?
Well, the town people are excited. They do get ridiculed, I'm sure. I mean, the sheriff and Sheriff Bo or Mayor Boo, which is funny. Actually, I got there, I'm like, Mayor Boo and Sheriff Bo. I'm like, really? They take some flack, I'm sure, from other government officials because, they might make fun of them, say, oh, you're just doing it for the, the tourist aspect, the media attention. But these guys are legitimately like humble, down to earth. They really want to know what's going on. Having these problems in the city, and so from a law enforcement perspective, I think they were very open to it. Like what other there's not many places in the country I think you could go to the police department and say, hey, do you guys need some help doing some paranormal investigations? And then they just kind of laugh at you. But when you're actually getting 911 calls and you're getting people calling in, it's like, hey, do something about it, and they don't have the tools or experience to do anything about it, I think it takes a special kind of community, and police department to do that.
Well, it's definitely different from any other show you watch. I mean, I've never seen a show where people are calling and saying, hey, I got this crazy stuff going on. Can you do something about it? And then the sheriff picks up his phone and is like, hey, can you guys come check out and see what you find? I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's like as to be there too as the stories are developing. Like, just having a first season is kind of like the people don't really know you're there, just the police department does.
Mm-hmm.
So when you the news gets around, like you wouldn't believe, it's like just as the show was finishing airing, we got all these emails, all these people, you should come check out this place, and my grandma's place is haunted, and let me show you video of this or that. And so there's so much more that we were just scratching the surface of, but so much more going on in the nearby parish, like anywhere in the South, really. I mean,
Yeah, the history of the state of Louisiana and all of the different groups of people and everything happening with the settlement. I mean, there's so much activity that has to be going on, and then it's going to be where you peel one layer back and then you find something else interesting. So how you said with your other show where it was more just kind of traveling to different spots, being able to be there and kind of be immersed in it, I think it gave you an ability really to go deeper and to try to maybe be more intimate with this show and actually make more connections.
Yeah, exactly. And, to stay in touch with them, I hope we do have a second season. And, like if we were even in the same place, I'm sure we would have a whole lot more different cases and stuff to look into. But the nearby parishes were even starting to ask, like, well, hey, what does it take to have you guys come over? So,
well, as far as your second season, I'm going to start now. Go ahead, and you can never say it too much. Go ahead and state the name and the time slot you guys are airing right now, so everybody can go give you as many views as possible, and we can try and help with that second season.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure when it's not regularly airing because it's on reruns, but I know they do marathons and stuff. We were on Friday nights.
Friday nights?
Yeah, Ghosts of Morgan City on Travel Channel. And I know you can go to the Travel Channel app.
Yeah.
And I think all the reruns are on there. And it just started airing in the UK, Australia, probably, I don't know, dozens of countries. Usually like Travel or Discovery will start airing it, a little bit later in those other countries. And so now I'm getting emails from people in Europe, saying, hey, love the show, just saw it. And so I can't keep up with everywhere that it is, but you can probably find it.
So tell us a bit more about you. Like, where are you from and how you got into this?
Sure. Well, I guess, when people ask that question, like, I know most people who are interested in, let's call it the paranormal subjects, they're more usually just, not just interested in one particular topic. Paranormal used to mean everything. Paranormal to me used to mean like supernatural, used to mean, UFOs, Bigfoot, all that stuff. And so I was interested in all of it. But my first interest was UFOs. And that's what I read the most books about. I'd save newspaper articles and things. And it wasn't until I was in college that I really started looking into the ghost hunting. Now, this was before ghost hunters were on TV. It was like a couple groups, were out there capturing what people were calling EVPs. And I was, what is that? And I, being skeptical, just expected that they were making this stuff up, and then putting it on the radio and playing it and spooking people out. I'm like, that's so silly, you just edit it. But when I went out and tried this for the very first time and captured a voice that wasn't there, and I know who my friends were standing nearby me, it wasn't them, it blew me away. And that was like the first that kind of got me hooked to say, well, okay, I believed in life after death, but all of a sudden we're like, well, is there hauntings? Are there spirits that just kind of hang out in places? So we had a group, this was even before actually websites were popular, so I didn't have a website or anything, but, it was kind of a Scooby-Doo type of group, you hear your neighbor says, hey, I hear you guys look into this stuff and you have some equipment, you go check that out. And that kind of just kind of grew and grew. And so then the Bigfoot stuff, that kind of came in, honestly, like after the show took off, because I didn't know a lot about cryptids. And so now I've kind of got, the three main things, and then sometimes we were looking at mermaids, and sometimes we were, like, no matter what you're looking at, the process is pretty much the same.
Yeah.
Of researching, gathering, trying to get your own evidence. And so it's, I don't know, like it's a big part of what I'd call a hobby of mine. And it's awesome when you're lucky enough to get a TV show or do something that actually can pay some of the bills that allows you to do that.
Yeah.
Because when you got a kid and a family, all of a sudden, like, most people have to keep that just as their after hours, hobby.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We got 3 questions that's popped up on our chat room. One of them, Darren wants to know, what is your favorite device when you're doing investigations?
I'd probably say just a simple audio recorder, because that was what got me hooked. Mm-hmm. And I used to just, from the very beginning of an investigation, let it record. And I'd come back, like 45-minute long, like sessions that I had to review. And then I got lazy, and I started doing, like, for TV, it was more like, okay, let's record for 2 or 3 minutes, then play it back and listen. And as long as you're good at logging the sounds that you make and marking the stuff that you did, I do like the longer sessions. Now, if you have time to listen to it, that's another thing, But when you review those, EVPs, I think, are some of the strongest evidence. And then
I've talked before about the audio recording. Do you use like the analog tape recorder? Do you use digital? Do you feel that there's a difference in detecting stuff, or like what type of actual audio recording equipment do you use?
I don't think that there's necessarily a proven difference between the two. I started out, the very first EVP I had was an analog, and it was on just a regular cassette tape. Okay. Digital seems to make it easier to time code and get into stuff. Some people like, more white noise in it, so you can still do that with digital by getting a lesser, a cheap recorder. You can get a lot of white noise in it if you want to. But the one that I use right now is an Olympus. It's the linear, is it the 11, the L11, I think is what it is. So it's kind of like a studio mic if you were for a musician. Okay. And, so that one seems to work really well for me. I was going to add that I do like, also, I always have with me is a tri-field meter, and they stopped making them. I have no idea why, but the only ones you can find now have been modified, or I think there's another company that started taking over. But it's your simple analog needle EMF meter, and I will take that any day over a K2. I think K2s are awesome in what they've done, but I like numbers. I like seeing intensities of things, and not just a light that tells me something. I like to see, okay, that's 0.3 milligauss. That's whatever it is. That's what I like to see.
Okay. Also, what is the coolest story that you've ever gotten from law enforcement?
The coolest story that I've ever gotten from law enforcement. Oh, that's a tough one. I assume we're talking about like ghosts, the paranormal, right?
Right.
Well, I don't know. I can't think of necessarily what tops them all. Like, if people have watched the episodes of Fact or Faked, we had several people who witnessed apparitions. The law enforcement actually seeing it, I filmed a cool little off-camera video where we went on a ride-along with a couple of the officers from Morgan City because it was like our day off, and they're like, "Hey, do you want to just come ride with us?" So Jeremy and I were like, "Sure," and we went over to just check out our archives building, which was our headquarters, and the door was open. We were checking the doors, and I'm like, "Oh, this is not good." Like all of our equipment's in there, so we went in, guns drawn, clearing the rooms just in case there was somebody in there. And I took them downstairs, and the two officers, I said, "Go ahead, go in there." And if you've seen the last episodes of our show, there was something dark down in there. And one of our producers, who was Austin, who was from my previous show, Factor Faked, is producing this show now. Anyways, he kind of ran out of there, when we were filming. And so now I'm down there with the cops. One cop looks over and he's like, "I just saw a shadow. There's something that just moved past the window." I said, "Go in there. Go check it out." And I would say they ran out of there, but they backed up so fast and like something just growled at us. I said, "Yeah. See what I mean?" So it's really cool when you can take fellow law enforcement who, these guys, they're the real deal. We had calls with shots fired and all stuff through the night, and they go in there and they're brave, but to take them down to a dark basement where something growls at them, and to see them like, I'm not going in there. I'm done with this place.
Ask them what happened to serve and protect.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what? On the flip side, you got to think is like when people do the worst things to each other, when someone has their life, ended prematurely or go through the most traumatic shit, they're the first ones that's there, so they see that on a regular basis, and they've got to feel that energy, when they haul people off. But then to be, in a place where they feel that type of chaos, but there's nothing that they can't arrest anything. They have no control over that situation, but they feel that same type of intensity or that malice in the air. And it's like, you can't put your finger on it, but sometimes you just got to know when to get the hell out of places.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I tell people, is that sometimes I would rather deal with, an assailant with a knife rather than a demonic something, because, you don't have the tools to deal with it. Like if you're a cop, you have, pepper spray, handcuffs, firearm, but how do you deal with if you don't have the experience and you don't have the tools? You can't just reach up and put your arms around a demon and say, "Okay, you're coming with me." You don't know what it's capable of.
Exactly. Another question we have here is, what would be the holy grail of the paranormal to you?
Well, the holy grail, I think would be if you could actually capture these things, like put them in a, like a Ghostbusters containment unit. and then you could turn it loose on your enemies, just toss it in the living room and let the thing go. That'd be cool. But since no one has come close to actually capturing something physically like that, then I'd say video is next. And we had a really cool piece of video where possibly, we captured an apparition. We still haven't been able to fully explain it. So I think that's probably the next best thing. EVPs are very, prevalent. You can get a lot of EVPs, but it's harder to fake or naturally explain something away, when you have something fully captured in camera. And for people to come back and say, well, it could have been this, could have been that. Yeah, it could be. And that's one problem with technology. Whether I tell you personally I saw something with my eyes or capture on camera, there's always going to be someone who's going to say it didn't happen. And rightly so. You got to be skeptical. But for me personally, I would have loved to have a camera in my hand for some of the things that I've seen.
Well, exactly. Sometimes we get so busy doing, trying to look for something else, we miss that one great piece of evidence. It happens. So,
Yep.
What kind of a stretch or transition was it to be from a show like Fact or Fake onto Ghosts of Morgan City?
Well, I mean, personally, like I said, being away from home a lot was hard because we just had a baby, my first, and my son was like 9 months old.
Oh my goodness.
So, yeah, he barely knew who I was. He's like, who's this guy with mom? But when I left for weeks and then would come back, like he was starting to recognize me. And one thing I was always concerned about was, well, am I bringing anything home with me? Because he was very sensitive to, like looking at things in the corner of the room and just freaking out, like when there's nothing there. And I think he probably has some sort of a gift. And so I was wondering, like I was dealing with sometimes cases that are kind of dark, and I'm like, is it possible I'm bringing some of that stuff home with me? And so that was kind of hard because I didn't have to face that filming Fact or Faked. We also have a smaller team on this one. So we're great friends, but the filming schedule is probably, I'd say definitely more intense than it was with Fact or Faked. But because we're on screen twice as much. But so yeah, to probably say that's kind of the basic differences.
But what about like the premise of Fact or Faked and then the premise of Ghosts of Morgan City? You just kind of incorporated what you used on Fact or Faked and took it with you, or you just started from scratch?
Yeah, I mean, the investigation's pretty much the same, the way that you do it. On Fact or Faked, we had one of the things was we tried to replicate doing experiments, and we kind of did a little bit of that in this show, trying to explain what things could be. But the one thing that with Ghosts of Morgan City is we were in it for the long haul. So when you're trying to figure out patterns of why something might be happening parish-wide, it's tricky because in reality it could be so many different things.
Right.
And also Fact or Faked was just pretty much we'd go out and we'd try to decide if that particular case had any merit. Here, we were trying to have a resolution. With Morgan City, we're actually trying to help the community so that people aren't freaking out, to see if there is a pattern, if there's a trend evolving. And so that was kind of more a macro approach, and that was different for me, because literally, like the mayor's office and stuff, they're kind of like, hey, we're relying on you guys because the town is complaining a lot, and we don't want to have to deal with these calls. We not that they're not important. We have, criminal stuff we need to be doing, and so that's why we brought you guys in here to see if you can help the community understand or work case by case.
Right.
So, yeah, it's kind of more of an entrenched type of a concept.
Okay. Now, do y'all do cleansing like after your investigations, and do you use anything for like protection when you go in these places?
Sarah and Jeremy definitely do. What's cool about our shows, our team members, Jeremy is a demonologist and Sarah's a psychic medium.
Right.
I'm the one that doesn't have any gifts. No gifts like that, and so they do their own cleansing. Jeremy, did kind of a sort of exorcism thing in one case. Sarah always uses sage or different stuff. I have an open mind, but that's not my world. I tell people my opinion is if you feel that something is really dark, like demonic, and you shouldn't go in there, then you shouldn't go in there. You don't need to be like, doing any protections or using any crystals or anything, because that's probably your clue that you shouldn't go.
Right.
So I guess my answer is I have an open mind that some of that could work, but I don't subscribe to anything particular. If Jeremy or Sarah want to do a particular thing, I say, well, yeah, why does it, what does it hurt? what's really cool though is that I think the intent is there, where when we felt like we've identified a specific spirit, we give them a memorial, right, at the end of most of our episodes. And whether that helps them move on or it helps the living people who are there, the survivors, just in giving them reverence and remembrance, I think is really cool. Because a lot of our cases, it was like unfinished business. It was like this person was wronged, or these people weren't buried properly, or their story wasn't known. And so we have a little memorial, and that in a way is kind of like a cleansing to me, because it's the right thing to do.
So, if Morgan City does not come back for another season, which I hope it does, because I really enjoy it. That's one of my top DVR shows.
Thank you.
What would you do after that?
Well, I could just say that there's other shows being talked about, other shows, always pitching stuff. I've always got production companies and networks coming to me. So I don't think it'd be very long before I'd be back on TV again. The Travel Channel's really been cool because they've taken on everything paranormal, and they're just trying to figure out the different styles of the shows, but they really love that space right now. But I'm also in TV production on things that have nothing to do with paranormal, that are just kind of mystery and adventure-based types of shows. And it's cool because, I just keep TV as a fun hobby of mine. It allows me to do a lot of stuff, but it's part of life. I don't know where I'm going to end up from 1 year to the next. I have just rough plans.
But you still have a backup plan.
Yeah, I mean, right now I teach firearms classes for approved classes for the local sheriff department. I working on my commercial pilot's license.
Okay.
I've been a pilot for a while, and I thought, why not? I'll be maybe an instructor for flying as well. Scuba diving instruction, I'm working on that. So I kind of spread out, and I just love instructing, and I love teaching people stuff. So just about anything you can think of that's fun, I want to get certified in it somehow.
What part of the country is your production company based in, and where do you shoot and film the other things that you have going on?
So I'm in Southern California, in Huntington Beach, and most of the production companies are located, of course, in the LA area or New York. So, we'll get
you're in super fertile ground. All you had to do was say Huntington Beach, and you're right where everything's going on.
Yeah, it's just far enough out of LA that I don't have to deal with the LA mess. But
you do any MMA training out there?
I haven't gotten back into that. I did it years ago, and I really loved it. I'm getting old, though. I can't even, do the warm-up stuff. I used to do jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai, and I would love, number one, to have the time to do it, and then, not to beat my body up so much.
Well, I know you're running out of time here, and I appreciate you hanging on with us. Can you tell everybody how they can see you on social media, any websites, all that kind of good stuff?
Yeah, probably the easiest thing is just to go to my website. It's benhansen.com. It's HANSEN, benhansen.com. So all the events that we have coming up, if people are in Southern California, we regularly do public lectures, ghost hunts, UFO sky watches. I go to Arizona a lot, and I've been invited. I'm going to Australia in a couple weeks to do a tour, speaking tour and stuff, and then just got off of a cruise. So got another group that does cruises. If you like cruises, we're looking at doing Bermuda.
Nice.
And so yeah, check it out at the website benhansen.com, and then there's links there for Twitter and Facebook, and I'm sure if you Google me or Facebook, my page, it'll come up, and shoot me an email. And there'll be, you know, of course, as soon as I'm able to, if they announce that we're getting renewed, I will put it up there, and then we get to filming.
Oh, let us know, because we will definitely put it on all our social media and announce it.
Cool, I appreciate that.
Oh yeah, anytime you have anything coming up that you need advertised, we'll blast it for you.
Awesome.
So, thank you again for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you for your time.
Man,
you're welcome. Thank you guys for having me on, and good luck to all of you. Everyone's in Texas. Everyone part of your group.
Well,
no, I'm actually in Chattanooga, Tennessee, but I'm gonna be in Texas for a few shows, and then we're relocating there in early, probably in January.
Oh, cool! I love Tennessee. Love it.
Tennessee too.
Well, we're trying to get him to Austin as quickly as possible. So if you're ever in the Austin area, keep my info and look us up, because we'll take you sightseeing.
Awesome. Good deal.
So,
well, thanks, guys.
Thank you very much. And
thanks, man.
Get back to your family.
Thank you for joining us on Into the Pit. Please follow us on Facebook at the Vibes Broadcast Network and Instagram at the Vibes Broadcast.